What's going on, guys? It's your average consumer, and we got these guys in the house, the new Apple AirPods Pro. Now today we're going to be going over all of its features and everything that it can do, while also comparing it to these guys over here, the Powerbeats Pro. Now this makes sense because these are probably the best earbuds that Apple sells right now, and with these both being in the same price range, about time we find out which one's better. So first, let's talk about the design of the new AirPods Pro. Now, they have a very different design. You'll notice that it has these silicone tips, so they are now in earbuds, which is going to make them a lot easier to keep inside of the ear. And they look pretty similar to something I imagined, kind of made a video about it a few months back. Apple, please run me my check. But all jokes aside, these got the in-ear design now, so they're gonna be able to stay inside of the ear a lot easier. Now, the internet has been going a little bit crazy with the overall design. Not everyone's too crazy about it. I personally don't think they look that bad, but when you've got them inside of the ear, they look like just shorter AirPods. So, oh, holy. I thought all the air conditioning just kind of cut off when I put these in my ears because they've got active noise canceling. So in the looks department, everyone has something bad to say right now because it's Apple, but give it a few months and when it's in everyone's ears, we'll probably stop hearing about that. But when it comes to these Powerbeats Pro right here, I gotta say, these are a good looking pair of earbuds. These particular ones have been customized by colorware. They look awesome, but overall, just the regular black ones, they look really good in the ear and they have a really nice overall design. And this is something that we're pretty used to seeing. We've got that over-ear hook design so that it stays in place with no problem. And we'll talk about comfort in a second, but for the most part, these are a good looking pair of earbuds. Now, fundamentally, where these two differ in terms of the design is how you control them. So on the AirPods Pro, you've got this capacitive force sensor. So pretty much if you want to control your music, your taps are pretty much gonna look like this. You hold the back of the stem, and then you touch this little panel that it has right here, and this is where you tap it to have all these different controls like play, pause. I have a little graphic so you guys can see all the different controls that you can do with this, but that's how you activate it. Now, that seems a little bit weird because it requires 2 fingers, but it also makes sense. Since these are in earbuds and position is so important, you can't just tap these anymore because that might slightly shift the position and kind of throw off your seal and the sound quality that you get out of these. So now Apple requires you to hold the stem and pretty much touch it like this. It keeps the earbuds in place and allows you to control it the way you need to. Not really a big deal. I think most people will get used to that pretty quickly, and it just makes sense. But when it comes to the Powerbeats Pro, things are a little bit different. You've got physical buttons, you've got your volume control right at the top, as well as a regular play and pause button with the little beat. Now, you've got those same controls on both sides, just like with the AirPods Pro, so you can control it from any earbud. Now, since the AirPods Pro are still pretty new, it's gonna take a little time for me to see which one feels more natural, but I don't think I'd have a problem with either side. Now, when it comes to comfort, Apple did a really good job with these. They're AirPods that can now finally stay inside of my ears, and they do a really good job of staying in place, so I am very happy with that. I don't feel these slipping at all, so that is awesome. This is everything I wanted the AirPods to be, so kudos to Apple for finally doing that, even though I gave some hints. But I am very happy with the design. But Apple actually did something interesting with the design here for comfort, because these ear tips, when you take them off, you'll notice there's no huge stem on the AirPods themselves. But if we take a look at the Powerbeats Pro, this is the typical look for in earbuds. You've got this long stem that sits inside of the canal of your ear, and that's kind of what helps get that music right inside of the ear. You don't have that here at all, and Apple did this on purpose. So for people who don't like that feeling of having something really deep lodged into their ears, you got this design, but what that means here is that you've got these silicone tips that aren't like anything we've seen before. So Apple created a design where it can actually just snap into place and it stays there. But this also means you're not gonna be able to take any ear tips that you might have had in the past and just replace these. These are pretty much proprietary for now until somebody goes up on Amazon and just, makes copies, and you can get like 80 of them for like $3. So until that time comes, you gotta be careful not to lose these tips unless Apple starts selling some extras. And Apple actually created something within the settings of the iPhone to make sure you got a good fit in the ear. So when you go into the settings of the AirPods Pro, you'll notice there's an ear tip fit test. And with this test, you basically get to put the ear tips inside of your ear, and using the sensors on the earbuds is gonna determine whether or not you have the right fit, or if you need to use one of the included ear tips, whether it's a smaller or a larger one, to get the right fit. So it's pretty clear to see that Apple paid a lot of attention to the comfort and the way these fit in the ear, because if they're not comfortable, you're not going to enjoy them, and it also impacts the sound quality. Now, when it comes to the Powerbeats Pro, this overall design seems like a no-brainer in the comfort department. You got the hooks that make sure it stays on your ears, but for me, I can only use them for about an hour at a time before they start to hurt. And I think that's because of this part of the earbud right here. This kind of digs into my ears a little bit more than regular earbuds, so I can't keep them in for as long as I would like. But they'll stay in place for sure, but they do tend to hurt and give me some ear fatigue after a little while. So AirPods Pro so far, I find a little bit more comfortable. And the last thing we're gonna talk about in terms of the overall design here are these guys, the cases. So as you can clearly see, one is quite larger than the other. The AirPods case actually seems like a regular pair of AirPods, but just turned over. And that's great because it makes putting it inside of your pocket or anywhere you want pretty simple. You won't even know it's there, not a bother whatsoever. But this guy is pretty bulky. I end up usually having to throw it into like a big jacket pocket or my backpack. So this one's definitely not as travel friendly. Now, when it comes to features, they're both equipped with Apple's H1 chip, which basically allows it to pair very quickly with an Apple product. And it also allows both of these to activate Siri by just saying out the phrase, "Hey." They're also sweat and water resistant, so if you want to work out with these, that's not going to be an issue. And they also have the awesome feature of being able to take one of them out of the ear and have it automatically pause their music, and when you put it back in, it'll play it again. So all pretty good stuff, but that's pretty much where the features end for the Powerbeats Pro, and these end up with a lot more. So these guys have active noise canceling. You saw it take effect when I put it on during the video. And I gotta say, from my short time with it, it seems really good. I was completely able to block out my Uber's music and just listen to my own. But not only does it have active noise canceling mode, but it also has a transparency mode. So if you're out jogging and you wanna bring in the if you wanna bring in the sounds from the outside, and you wanna hear like cars passing by, make sure you don't get into any accidents, you're gonna be able to do that. And I will say, guys, the transparency mode on this is legitimate. I was able to carry on conversations with this and it sounded completely natural. A lot of earbuds with this feature will amplify people's voices and it kind of sounds like you have supersonic hearing. This sounded completely natural. I think Apple really nailed the transparency mode on this. So far from what I've seen, it's a really good implementation of the feature. And what's also pretty nice is that you can easily control this feature by going into the control center, long pressing the volume, and now you have active noise canceling, transparency, or you can just turn off the feature altogether. So this is really simple and easy to get to. And if you don't want to do that, you can of course just long press the stem and turn the feature on. You'll hear a little beep and that's how you know it's activated. So far, Apple's implementation of noise canceling and transparency modes have been really impressive to me. Of course, I'll spend some more time with it. I've got a flight later on, so it's going to be interesting to see how it works on the plane. But so far, I'm really impressed. Another cool feature that the AirPods Pro have is announced messages. So with this feature, you're gonna be able to have Siri read off messages that come into you, and you can of course select who you wanna hear these messages from, so you can choose your favorites, recent contacts, things like that, so you can make sure you're not just getting random messages read to you all day. So that's a nice feature. I think if you're jogging or you're busy and you don't have access to your phone, it's gonna be a nice way of being connected without necessarily having your phone in your hand. Pretty awesome stuff. Would you use it, Ari?
Absolutely.
Say no more. So features-wise, even though Apple owns Beats and they've got that deep integration with the H1 chip, they saved a lot of the good stuff for the AirPods Pro. Now, of course, there's no way for us to talk about this without talking about battery life. With the AirPods Pro, you're getting 5 hours of usage, and with active noise canceling, you get 4.5 hours of usage. With the travel case, you get additional charges, which will total up to 24 hours of usage, while the Powerbeats Pro still pretty much the champs here, and they'll give you 9 hours of usage on a single charge. But with the travel case, you'll get a total of 24 hours, just like with the AirPods Pro. And both of these have a quick charge feature. If you put the earbuds inside of their case for about 5 minutes, with the AirPods, you'll get an hour of listening, and with the Powerbeats Pro, you get an hour and a half. So when it comes to battery life, even though you get 24 hours between the both of them with the travel cases, the Powerbeats Pro, you do get a little bit more initially right from the earbuds, and you get a faster quick charge. But one thing that the AirPods Pro does have under its belt is the fact that it has wireless charging. So I've got a wireless charging desk right here, and you guys can see the AirPods Pros are charging over here, and that is a feature you're not gonna get with these guys. But they both do use lightning cables to charge. Surprisingly, this comes with a USB-C to lightning cable, but not that iPhone 11 though. Oh, now, of course, we've gotta talk about the sound quality. That's like the most important thing, right? The AirPods Pro actually have awesome sound quality. Now, I compared them a lot, and I'll be honest with you guys, between the Powerbeats Pro and the AirPods Pro, I had a surprisingly hard time at seeing what the real difference was. But the fact that the sound quality here rivals the Powerbeats Pro is shocking, because these have amazing sound quality. Vocals come in really clear. It's got that pretty decent bass. The bass didn't come in and make the sound muddy by any means whatsoever. I'm here for that all day, trust me. I love me some bass, and I was just so blown away at the fact that AirPods can rival these. So I say that to say these have really good sound quality. If you're trying to pick between the two just off sound quality alone, I don't think you can go wrong. You're gonna have a hard time finding the difference between the two. So with that said, I think you're gonna wanna keep in mind things like portability, features. Those are the kind of things that really make the decision here. Sound quality, honestly, to me right now is so similar that you're gonna wanna take into consideration everything else. But if I had to choose between the two of these, which one would I go with? Honestly, for me right now, it's pretty easy. I think I'd go with the AirPods Pro. I know, right? I really like these a lot. But the fact that I can wear these for a longer period of time without worrying about it hurting my ears and those extra features, it almost feels like a no-brainer, honestly. But you guys let me know. I think what this has going for it is that ear hook design. So if you're doing some really strenuous activities and you're gonna be all over the place, jumping jacks, that kind of thing, you might wanna consider these because of the hook. But this has a lot more going for it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be the cool guy or girl that gives it a thumbs up. Apple, good job. You did all right. Until next video, guys, it's your average consumer. Peace.